I just wanted to do something later because
Yeah.
just gave me more time out, like for my Sunday to get prepared and also still have some time to just relax.
But I've been thinking the same thing. I think a lot of people getting Zoom fatigue.
Oh yeah, it's a real thing.
Yeah. They're just tired of Zoom.
Joseph
I mean,
knows.
I'm tired of
That
I'm
call
tired of it.
Joseph was on that call with me today.
Yeah.
I noticed a lot of people with shut off screens on that call.
Just listening, doing my thing, man. Like picking my nose, drinking, eating pretzels and ranch dip. Like I can't always be just like
Yeah.
focused on.
Yeah, I was
At
like,
least
I'm gonna save my engaging time for this meeting and just be listening to the other one. Also, like, I'm gonna sit in on his call with Bart in a couple weeks too. So I'm hoping it's a little different. If not, I'm probably just gonna be in and out real quick.
Yeah, we chatted with him a little bit after everybody left. Like Cammy wanted us to hang around, and we gave him some like feedback. Or Emma really was talked the most about sort of what you guys would want to hear. But it definitely, if there's more feedback that we could get to him in it, like we can pass that on.
Yeah.
Sure.
What's up, everybody? Your name is not Stacy Spears.
I know. I was on that Terry Parsons call earlier, and I was like, "Why is Stacey Spears signed on? She's one of my coworkers, but I'm signed into her thing because I'm like in charge of all Zoom for all of FUMC Plano apparently because I'm the youngest person on staff, so I know everything about technology." And so I was like on her Zoom yesterday, like creating a meeting for her, and I was like, "Why is Stacey Spears here?" And then I signed on here, and I was like, "Oh, and because you're Stacey Spears today."
Change it. Just hit the little three buttons.
How do I do that?
Just hit the little
Says the
three
Zoom
buttons,
expert
the
at
three
FUMC.
little dots at the top, and then hit rename, and then.
What should I name it?
I mean, it'll go back to whatever the default is after when you log on again. So like,
I was like trying to think of something funny. Don't worry about it.
Oh, sorry.
I'll be done. I'll mute myself again.
So the best thing about being the host is that you can rename people.
Wait. What? This is new information to me. There. Not CJ. Yeah. Not CJ. It's definitely someone else. That's perfect.
Which is just like the youth director's dream, to be able to rename all the kids in the chat.
No, I'll tell you what the youth director's dream is muting people.
Oh, yeah.
That's the best gift ever.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I need that to keep happening in real life somehow when we get to be back together again. Like, I just want to mute a few.
Here's the thing, like, they can still unmute themselves.
There's an option to let them not.
There is, but like I noticed that like it depends on the version of the app. If they have an older version, they can still unmute themselves.
Got it.
But I noticed when we were having our game nights, like they're just respecting it. And I'm like, who are you? Like we played a game and we needed like silence so you could hear the person guessing, and like they just did it, and it was incredible. And so when we meet in person again, I'll be like, remember on Zoom, you guys were all respectful.
Well, they won't make that connection.
No, they won't. Not at all.
It's like when you have them lead something and they're like, this is so frustrating. No one's listening. Like, I really think it'd be great if somebody would participate. And then like the next week you're like, cool. So we're not connecting those lessons. That's fine. That's fine.
No, not at all.
Mm-hmm.
Is anybody taking naps? I'm like taking so many naps.
I have 2 small children, so the answer.
No, so the answer is no. Yeah.
If they would both fall asleep at the same time, might be able to consider it, but it hadn't happened yet.
Best life choice was not having kids before all of this. It's really working out for me. I can't even imagine.
It's not bad. I actually enjoyed the family time. The challenge is the fact that you can't like take them anywhere or do anything with them.
Yeah.
So it just gets like the stir crazy thing. Like if it was just summertime and you were like, oh, they were like, hey, you need to just not go to work and spend a month with your family, you'd be fine because you'd hit the zoo and like all the fun things. But there are no fun things. We only have so many toys in our house.
Yeah, and you can't even buy more toys. I mean, Amazon's so backed up. You can't even.
We've bought some things off of Amazon. Like we bought a little kitchenette for them. Basically what Amazon is doing right now is they're like giving you like a really, really long delivery date and then like over delivering. So they're like, oh, this won't come till April or this won't come till May. And then it like shows up in a week and a half instead of 2 days. And you're like, oh, well, that's fantastic.
Oh, that's smart. That's smart.
So then you're not mad at them.
Undersell, over deliver.
Mm-hmm. That's the expression I was looking for.
Yeah.
Couldn't get it.
It's really great for all you single people. No laughs. Cool. No laugh.
It took me a second, but okay.
Joel, if I knew what y'all were talking about, I would have laughed. I
What?
would have laughed for you. If I had known what you guys were talking about, I would have laughed for you, buddy.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
I would have gotten your back. You're welcome.
Anybody been doing, I know some of you have been doing Jackbox. What games do you usually do on Jackbox?
I have not used it.
I've done Jackbox with a group of adults. And you can get a great deal on Drawful and on Quiplash.
Yeah, so I used Drawful this past Sunday with my kiddos. If there is a way to get more than 8 people playing, I don't know how. And so it was kind of a bummer because there were kids who didn't, because I had to be one of the people who was playing because I created our own so that way we didn't get weird random topics. Because when I tested it out, I got like fascism, can't even say it, and like there were some other really weird ones. So I decided to make my own. So we had kids not able to play, and so they were really disinterested and everything like that. So and then the sound was really weird on my laptop, and couldn't hear any of the kids. So it was kind of a hot mess. But I think if you can really figure it out and play around with it first, then I say go for it. But it was kind of odd, and I don't know that I will be using it again.
David, we used the whiteboard feature to play Pictionary, and it worked pretty well. I don't know if they're on a Chromebook, if they have that feature though, or if the kids just couldn't figure it out. But there were 2 that like couldn't draw, and then 1 could, and I didn't know if it was, I don't know what the problem was, but everybody else could draw on the screen. So I just came up with a bunch of Pictionary topics.
Right.
We did Pictionary on Sunday, but I just had them do kind of like less technology based. So I just had them flip their camera and draw on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And that worked out really well too, just based on technology and numbers and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, and we did something like that last week too, where you used a camera and held up a piece of paper.
We did it with our 11th and 12th grade girls last night, and we did charades too. So they just stepped back from the camera and did that. So obviously like less technology based, but still worked out really well, and they had fun.
We used Drawful 2 on Wednesday with our group. We had about 20 something. So same challenges that people had with like, you can only have 8 people playing. Except people can join in if they're not playing to be spectators, and then they're able to vote on like their favorites as far as like, oh, this was my favorite like caption that somebody put or whatever. So then they still got to participate. So we didn't have frustrated kids just because they still found a way to participate. But
Right.
I'm not going to use it again either. It's just there's a big delay too between when they can see it and when you can see it and all that stuff too. We didn't have
Game were you
didn't have a
trying?
great experience. We did Drawful.
Awful, okay.
Cool.
Is quiplash church appropriate? I mean, it can be inappropriate if you give bad answers, but is it inherently church inappropriate?
I think there's a setting maybe on it because I was reading about this a few weeks ago where you can make the prompts like family friendly, but you can't control what the students submit as a response. Right. So it's kind of the same as like almost anything, but like I know when I've played with family and friends, it can get a little inappropriate because that's kind of the nature of the game. So you have to trust your kids.
Yeah.
So I think, Chris, you have our devotion for us this week? The voluntelling of devotions?
Yeah. So are you ready for me to start?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. So this is my third Zoom meeting for today. My maybe 9th for the week, right? And it's Tuesday. And I'm losing track of all of the Zoom meetings, and I think I've begun suffering from a new syndrome that I've discovered. Right, all of our times together that I do these meetings, because I'm with church professionals, they all start with a devotional of some kind, and I'm now suffering from devotional fatigue. Right, it's a new syndrome. I made it up. I may be the only one suffering from it. But it's just like everything starts with a devotional and everything has kind of the same pathway to it or whatever, because we're in Holy Week, so everyone wants to read from the same scriptures and everyone wants to talk about the same things, and like I'm just kind of over devotionals, right? So at the risk of never being allowed to do a devotional again, I want to do something different with our devotional time today, which is just to ask you all a question and see if we can get responses, which is just what inspires you? What helps you to see God? Is it music? Is it walking? Is it meditation? Is it prayer? Is it Zoom devotionals? If it is, that's okay. No judgment here. But I'd just like to know what inspires you and what helps you to see and connect with God.
I think for me is music. Something I've been like rediscovering. I know it's not like groundbreaking or anything, but in a former life I was a musician, and so I used to like music was like a really spiritual thing for me in that season of life. And as I've moved on to other things, it's become less of that for me. But I found in the last couple of weeks, like finding a good song. Maggie mentioned a song last week in her devotion that prompted me to go listen to some other songs from that artist, and like just really connecting through music. And so that's been something that's been really helpful for me.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. Anybody else?
I'm inspired by how in a time like this, we're in a tough spot and we're all pitching in together to help each other out, compare ideas, and we just care about each other, and we want to help each other succeed. I find it very inspiring. I hope we can continue to do this even after all the emergencies have passed.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks for sharing.
I was really inspired last night by our parents. We did a Zoom parent check-in, and when asking just how things were going in their home, we talked for a solid 20 minutes about all the things that have made them laugh and what they've appreciated about this time together. And that was just really inspiring to me, that knowing that these parents are ones that are trying to figure out how to homeschool their kids and work at home and all these things at once, and they could still talk for 20 minutes. Even when I asked them what the challenges were, they were still talking about times that they have appreciated with their kids and the stuff that has made them smile. And that was really inspiring to me, that we're seeing that in the midst of the things that aren't going the way we thought.
I love that. Thanks for sharing.
I've been really inspired just by my peers and my friends, y'all, this group, and all the people who are doing ministry, who are sharing what they're doing and helping each other out. But also just like my classmates, like I'm in seminary right now, and this is a very weird time to be in seminary. And so being able to just connect with my friends and my classmates and help each other out, but also just have the same kinds of conversations we'd be having in person while we're studying, and that kind of stuff has been really good. I'm naturally an introvert, and so I've actually had a lot more social interaction the past few weeks than I usually do because of this technology, so it's been really good for me.
Awesome. Thanks for sharing. I'm playing that Zoom game where you look around at all the little microphones that are red just to see if anybody wants to talk. All right, well, if nobody else wants to speak, I will say a prayer for us, and then we'll begin our actual meeting time, and I'll pass it back to Joel. So let us pray. Dear Lord, I thank you for this group of youth directors and youth leaders from across our conference. I thank you for the gift that it is to be together, and I thank you for the opportunity to share what is inspiring us to help us to keep going. We ask, Lord, that you be with us, that you help us, that you lead us, and that you guide us as we prepare to do your work. And we ask that you bless this meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. So kind of our pattern has been to just start with what's been going well and then let that drive the conversation. And then inevitably it lands on what's not working well and frustrations and other things that we can get into talking about. So what's been working well?
Well, after blowing up social media with a ton of questions, because I'm learning that I'm not as technology savvy as I thought I was, that I'm actually not at all. I really suck at it. And that's been a huge struggle in this whole time. And I'm really beating myself up that I didn't learn stuff like this sooner. So I appreciate those who have been so sweet in answering all of my millions of questions. I think I text Joel like almost daily with some more stupid questions because I steal everything from Prosper. But Jason's my mentor, so I feel like it's allowed. I downloaded the Download Youth Ministry, the free 60 days that they're giving to youth pastors. And so I downloaded that, and I downloaded Sidekick, and we played Family Feud on Sunday night. And it was a little hard for the kids to get engaged, but once they did, it was gloves off. I mean, it was so intense. It was so much fun. I had to keep telling them that I can only hear one person at a time because they were getting so excited. And I was like, it's not your turn. Like, wait. But we had a lot of fun. And so I appreciate the help with that because that has completely changed my life. And my husband and I are trying to figure out if, because I don't really have any money in my budget because I didn't budget for anything like this. So my husband and I are trying to figure out if we want to donate that and pay for it because it has been a really great thing. And I think it's something that we can continue to use after all of this is over. So I appreciate the help with that. That's been great.
I wanted to share with you all, something that has gone well, but I feel like I had a lot of plans for Zoom of like, okay, if this happens, here's where I go, all of this. Something that happened that I had no plan for was what it looks like for a student to come out on a Zoom call to the youth group. So I just say that as something to keep in mind for you all. It just wasn't necessarily on my radar. Luckily, we've navigated it super well. But if a situation like that comes up and you would like to talk to someone, know that I'm here, and just kind of keep that on your radar, as this presents kind of a different opportunity for our students to connect and share vulnerable things with one another. So.
I think we're very much like most everyone else, and we're trying to adapt and change every week to see what's working best. We were pre-recording our Sunday morning lessons for like Sunday school and for confirmation, and we went to like live Zoom classes last week. Had great responses with that, and so I think we're going to pivot to those things. It seems like our group really isn't into the whole pre-recorded lesson, and if we send curriculum out and send a video out, like we won't get a whole lot of people that will watch it. So we're going to move away from that. And I think the biggest thing we're learning is that, we're, like we talked about in previous weeks, we're going to continue on with doing Zoom meetings and stuff like that, because we have a lot of kids that just have crazy schedules. And if we can find a way to reach out to them, not on a Wednesday or a Sunday, whatever else, I think we're going to continue to do that so we can at least expand that ministry a little bit more than what we've ever done before.
One thing that's kind of in progress, but so far going well. I've decided, going into Easter week, like typically, like our programming shifts to more church-wide things. I think a lot of us have that pattern of, Monday, Thursday, Good Friday, and doing those things as a church, not necessarily just as a youth group. And so I've decided, since that was our normal schedule, that's still kind of the pattern we're going to follow. And but I decided in the midst of this, of it slowing down a little bit this week, that I would just reach out and poll some of our families about how things have been going and how our response has been, and what they want to see and what's working well for them. And so so far so good. I think we got like 10 or 12 responses, and hopefully we'll see more. Some of that's like frustrating because you're getting data, and so sometimes your data doesn't tell you what you want it to tell you. But on the positive end, it informs us for how we go forward, because obviously this looks like it's going to last a lot longer than probably most of us initially thought. So I'd highly recommend it if you're curious about how it's working. We did a 6-question Google poll, and I think the shorter the better. I think you get more responses that way. But
that was really something helpful for us too. We also did a poll last week, and the information from that helped with putting together the parent check-in that we did, as well as some of our parents, I think, just for us anyway, sending so much in a weekly email. There's so much there, and so many online opportunities that I don't know that all of them have really gotten a good glance on realizing what all of them are. I think a lot of them were glossed over. So when the parents had recommended a couple of things that we were already doing, I was able to respond individually to each one of those parents and let them know what was available for their student and their grade level. And just that personal connection has been really helpful. And we noticed this week, that the numbers were higher in our Zoom calls and participation, because some of those parents that had that personal connection realized what was going on, and reaching out to them personally made a difference.
I was just curious. I know at least a few of us have done parent check-ins. How's the response been as far as like getting parents in? I know that we were supposed to have had 2 by now, but the second one, there's just a huge issue with Zoom messing up my time and meeting, and so I don't even count it. But our first one, we had 6 or 7 parents in there. I'm just curious. For us, that's pretty a low number as far as families in our ministry are concerned. Just curious how other people are, what their response has been like, and B, what they've found is successful for, selling the idea of a parent check-in to your parents.
Joel, we had the same thing. We've only had one so far, but the parents have asked for another one. But the first one, we only had like 5 parents, and that's pretty low compared to the number of kids that are in our program. But it was still really good and really healthy that we did it. I would have loved more parents to be on it, but for whatever reason, they just couldn't.
Yeah, we did a parent check-in as well, and we had 5 couples, and it was really good for them. But I was hoping to have more. But I kind of think, as I was thinking, because we did ours like at 9, so trying to wait until kids had gone to bed, or were entertaining themselves in other places, and I like ghosted on a FaceTime call with my family at 9 p.m. 2 nights ago because I was just done on with that. So I don't know, but then I was talking to the parents who did show up about like what's a good time to catch people, and I think ultimately it's like there is no good time. So you just like keep bopping around and trying to catch different people at different times, and that just has to be okay for right now. I don't think people have found a rhythm yet, particularly because as crazy as it is, it doesn't seem like everyone has accepted like this is what our life is going to be like for the next like probably 6-ish weeks, so I think that makes a difference. So I think we just keep offering that sort of thing, because my parents, even some of them were essential workers, so they're still like seeing other adults in the daytime and like real like whole people, but they're like it's not the same. Like I either like those people are obnoxious, they're my coworkers, or like it's not my church family, it's not people who understand what I'm going through, it's not people who know my kids. So that I'm just going to keep kind of moving it around and seeing, even if I don't ever find a time everyone can come, maybe I find a time that I can get a combination of everybody together. That's kind of where I am.
So one of the things I had written down that I thought was going well at the beginning, and then has turned out to not go so well. So like I started doing family devotions where I would pre-record a message, have some questions, have a prayer, something just short and sweet, but something that a full family could engage with. And like watching the numbers after the first week, man, like got up to like nearly 50 engagements. Like, yes, like people are engaging with this, is awesome. And then like last week I had like 8. And then I like pulled out the secret weapon. I let my wife do the devotion because everyone loves my wife. And so when she only got 8 engagements, I was like, okay, maybe people really just aren't engaging with this medium anymore. It was really great in the initial response to all the pandemic and everything, but then has just completely fell off. So I'd be curious, is there anything else like that? Anybody else experience like this worked really well the first week and I've just seen a decline? And then I'd be curious to hear what your response is, like how you're going to respond to that. Like, so for me, those videos, well, I think they're fun to make. It's a lot of work, especially for somebody who doesn't do video editing all the time. It probably takes me twice as long as somebody who's experienced with it. So for me, I'm having to reevaluate, is this worth the time and energy to put in, or do I need to look for a new medium to engage with my parents? So that's part of what drove me to do my poll, but I'm just curious, has anybody else experienced that, and what your response is going to be for that?
I have a guess, a little theory I want to test this week, but each pastor where I am is doing a short video devotional each day. And then we get a lay person in the mix from time to time too. And some of them are Facebook Live, and they go out immediately. And some of them are pre-recorded and uploaded. And there seems to be a slight edge in the people that want to see Facebook Live, as opposed to those who would look at a pre-recorded message. And so I had pre-recorded mine before. I'm not going to do it this time. I'm going to do it live and just see how things change, and just try to keep an eye on that. But that might be something you want to try. I don't know. It's in the middle of an experiment for me.
Doing weekly Instagram live was like that for us. We had around, I don't know, 40-ish engagements, I think, the first time, and then it's kind of waned off, and 8 has been these last 2 weeks, or 12. So that was actually what prompted me to do the parent survey, and I asked what mediums their students use, and that was really helpful just to be aware of what students had, because a lot of our middle school students don't have Facebook or Instagram. They don't have, other than using YouTube, there's really not any other medium that they're all engaging in. So we're going to move all of that to Zoom. But that was something helpful for me, is just to flat out ask parents, hey, what do your kids use? What do you allow them to use, to know what was out there instead of guessing?
So I was kind of talking to Joel about this right before we all jumped in, but we started doing the Zoom like everybody else, and all this technology stuff, and I wasn't super impressed of how our numbers started, and it seems like they're going down every Sunday, and from the conversations I'm starting to have with the students, I really think this isolation is really starting to get to them, and I think they're really getting kind of tired of all the technology, which is kind of weird. And so I'm wondering if that's just part of it. They're just kind of they're Zoomed out, they're Facebooked out, they're Instagrammed out. They want that face-to-face. So I think we're starting to run. To me, that's my feeling, that I've gotten some from students that they just really want to be with each other. And I think doing these Zoom calls is great and all. We're not going to stop it, but I'm just wondering if they're starting to get the isolations, I think, starting to kick in. And I'm starting to get worried about their emotional well-being, because several students that hate school are really, really wanting school now. And so I just think, I don't know how to go forward, thinking because I was talking to Sarah, who's on with us too, if our time was the right time, but someone else said there's really no good time. So I'm just worried. We're trying to do this, and maybe we'll do a survey as well, see if there's something else we can do. But yeah, I'm just getting a little worried. The more we do this, we're going to start seeing less and less engagement, unless I don't know what other way we could do it.
Yeah, and we're seeing less engagement on even just social media posts than we were in like the first week of this. Most of our kids are on Instagram, most of our parents are on Facebook, but the past week, 2 weeks, we just haven't been seeing hardly any response to anything that we're putting out, which is kind of frustrating, because we want to know that people are there. We want to hear from our people, and we're kind of not. I think everyone's getting a little bit burned out on it all, for sure.
So for me, and David knows this, the kids at Arapahoe were, they weren't just super engaged in coming to youth in the first place, and so it was just kind of going into all of this, I was super worried about kid engagement in doing something like this. Would they show up? And so I kind of took Joel's idea of doing a video and a devotional, and doing questions and really inviting them to do that with their families. And I'd get on Sunday and ask okay, so who was able to watch the video? And my adults raised their hand, so And so I was having to retell the story anyways of what I did in the video. And so I really decided to not do those anymore. Because like Joel said, like I'm not super savvy when it comes to editing videos and putting that all together and taking that time to do it if I'm just going to have to tell the story over again. Like it just doesn't really make sense. And Steve, I am also on the same page with you that like I have just been super worried about at least getting them to see one another, because I know that there are a couple of my kids who come really for the people there, and like that's where they have found their community. And so I was really worried about especially a couple of mine, and so it's been good them being on there. And so this past week we did like just a game night or whatever, and I think they really enjoyed it, even with the frustrations of technology and everything, and my own goof up with all of that. But I think it was good at least for them to still have that. So I'm definitely in that process of just figuring out like how much of Bible study and devotional time together do we want versus how much time do I just want them to have to just be, right? Because they're all just so, I mean, like you guys said, they're just so bogged down with figuring out school and being online for school and like all this other stuff. And so if we want to add in another one of those things, do I want it to be another thing where they have to like sit down and think about something and be in a deep conversation and use that brain power, you know, that they're already burnt out on, you know? So I don't know. So I'm doing a lot of just kind of reevaluating, and I'm a little frustrated because even if I put something out there, like asking my parents or youth, I know I'm not like, I don't get a lot of response from them, because even moving, like coming up with all of this stuff, you know, I asked them, what's the best way? Is it Instagram? Is it Facebook? Is it Zoom? You know, what do y'all want? Do y'all want devotionals? Like, and I wouldn't get any responses. So like, I'm in a really frustrating kind of space of, I'm just trying things out, and if they stick, they stick. If they don't, they don't. And I'm going to move on and try something else. But that's kind of where I'm at. And I think all of us are really seeing that the things that we thought were going to work really well maybe did in the beginning because that's what they needed, but now everything's kind of reshifting and their focus is reshifting, and we're going to have to do that as well. So that's kind of where I'm at.
Hey, Maggie. On kind of piggybacking, there we go, that are like when y'all as a whole, like when y'all are doing your Bible studies or when you're doing devotionals, are y'all doing really deep engagement or really thinking, using that brain power, kind of like what Maggie was saying, or are y'all keeping things surface level? Because initially I was keeping things surface level because I thought they are getting hit so hard in a lot of different ways. I was like, I don't know how deep I want to dive in or how much I want to make them think when I'm asking questions or doing devotionals. But then I started to hear that from my boss, that I needed to do things that was making them think more. And so, but I don't know, because like I'm brain dead constantly. Like I'm an extrovert, but I'm extremely overstimulated all the time because it's just constant in front of the computer, and that's not my expertise. And so I'm afraid that if I'm brain dead, my kids are brain dead too. So how are y'all dealing with that, doing what's best for your ministry and focusing on that?
I think for me, in our small groups, we let them dictate that. So, you know, we provide the opportunities for them. Right now, like our small groups have really just turned into pseudo therapy sessions of like, just how's your soul doing? And I'm sure a lot of you are like that. And so, you know, we've done things like use the holy listening stones, you know, different activities to help them open up and share. But it's really like letting the students go where they need to go. And so in that aspect, and I think I would take the same approach if I switched to a Zoom Bible study, which is probably likely. If I went to that, I would, you know, build my Bible study around in a way that could go as deep as they need to go, or stay as surface level as they need to stay. You know, just being able to have that flexibility built into what we're doing, so that, you know, because, you know, one student may be ready to you know, jump right in, the other student's gonna stay at, surface level. And so, building a study in a way that it can accommodate all those students would be my, I know that sounds probably like a not helping tip there, but that's how I would approach it though.
No, that's helpful. I know something that has been working is we've changed our schedule around. So I think I said this in the group last week, but I can't remember if it was to y'all or somebody else. But Thursday we've done it. Joel's laughing. It's true. I cannot remember who I talked to. Thursday is for 6th through 9th graders, and then Friday night is for 10th through 12th graders. And I'm using Spark House, and they have some really great video lessons, and I'm able to share my screen, and the kids are able to watch the video together, and then we engage with it. And my older kids did tell me Friday, because we talked about why should I believe the Bible is true, and it was a TBD lesson from Spark House, and the kids did tell me that they appreciated that they were able to think just enough, but it wasn't over their head. So I think the videos have been helpful, but at the same time, I'm just afraid that I'm either not digging in deep enough or I'm doing it too much, and I don't know what to do anymore, because I just don't want to push them too much.
I want to affirm you.
Well, sorry about
either way, sorry. And just say not to be too hard on yourself, because I think the only thing that we can do is to be able to give them a as much of a balance as we can right now. Like, that's what we're doing. Is Wednesday nights we have a Bible study, and then Sunday is our typical youth thing. And that one on Sunday we've structured where we start with games, more lighthearted. And I've been writing the curriculum for that each week, just discussion questions, starting with checking in with them, like Joel was saying, and then moving to some things that made them think. And then I've bolded the ones that I thought were more important, and told small group leaders to just gauge on where their kids were. And if they were having good conversation, just talking with each other, and they didn't get to the meat stuff, that was okay, and encouraging that of them. So I'd say the same thing of you, of make sure that if you're engaging with your kids and you're trying to give them a balance, that's the best thing you can do. If you feel like, I don't know, that there's still not enough, or you're not reaching them where they are, maybe just making sure that you've got some personal check-ins too. I try just every week to go through my whole list and just text them. Because if they're not getting enough of something, your kids know that you love them, and they know that you're there. And if there's something they're not getting or they're hurting, they're going to reach out to you, particularly with an individual invitation for that. So I just don't be too hard on yourself, because we're all in that boat. And the fact that you're asking that question means that you're doing everything that you can. So hang in there.
Thanks, Kat. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I was just going to say, I think that's something that we all face in normal times, right? Like, it's just how much do we want to push our youth to think, and how deep do we want them to dive? And so while it may not seem like a helpful answer of just kind of giving them that option, but I think really engaging them and really asking them, like, what are things that you want to talk about, like right now in this time during this pandemic, while you're stuck at home, while you're dealing with all the crap that you're dealing with, what is it that you want to talk about when it comes to your faith? And because the first couple of weeks I had a couple of kids that wanted to talk about some Old Testament characters, so we talked about Ruth, and we talked about Rahab, and and we actually had really good conversations around that, something that I never thought that they would have really good deep conversations around. So I think it's a lot of just asking them what they want to be engaged with, rather than us. I mean, why make it more difficult than it has to be? If we can ask them and they're going to tell us what they want to be engaged with and what they want to talk about, then make it easy on yourself. But yeah, I think just asking that question will be really helpful for you, to just see what they want to do.
The shining moments in my household right now, with a 11-year-old and a 13-year-old, in every capacity, are where they have ownership and control. And so to address, to go back to Steve's point on that digital fatigue, I don't know how much of it is about the apparatus as much as it's about control. And so it's just one thing after the other, and it's actually about how they built their digital networks before. Like however they compartmentalized their networks before this is kind of what they're at the mercy at now. And they don't necessarily have control over those moments. And so the school projects and the family projects in which they have agency and control are the highlights of the day in the house right now. That's where like creativity comes in, and that's where time comes in. That's where joy comes in. So I don't know how that all translates. But you know, for us to be able to offer that kind of agency and ownership could be part of the solution to that, because I wonder how much of it is just about moving from one meeting to another that they don't have control over. It's almost the fruits of whatever they built before.
Yeah, I was going to say one of the things that's gone really well is our small groups, just having them meet and being able to kind of dictate what that looks like. So being able to play games or being able to just talk about what their life looks like right now. I had a girl that was like, she cut her hair on small group on Sunday night, and it was a disaster, but it was so much fun. And like, it was just them sharing life together, which was really cool. But based on the study that we started a study that is on the Fuller Youth Institute website, that's Faith in an Anxious World, which was really cool. And we did that over Instagram Live. So one of the things that I'm realizing with my students, especially today, was a lot of them texted me after noon and they were like, I just woke up. So their sleep pattern is all over the place too. And so I know that their schedules are ridiculous. So what we've been doing is we'll do Instagram Live. That's on there for 24 hours, which is great. But then I'll screen record it and put it on YouTube. And it's not a fancy editing thing. It's literally just, here's what we did. And then I'll do a little recap graphic of like, here are the main points and here are some take-home questions. So at 3 a.m. when you're not sleeping and you have nothing else to do, go look and reflect on these questions and like see what that looks like for them. So I've heard that it's good from them. It's been sweet to be able to give them the resources and then kind of like Bart was saying, give them the control of their schedule.
Yeah, I literally just typed this, but I guess I could just say it out loud, is that I love the idea of giving them back their control, because I think that so much of their world, even more so now than ever before, is controlled. There's, and that's why, like, I think that them sleeping till noon is them saying that at least I have control over when I wake up. Like, at least I'm dominating here. Like, this is where I have my power. Because they are not having any freedom away from their parents, and so I'm better at doing that with my older kids, about asking them what they need from this time, what they want. And the way that we started even doing small groups was because my seniors were like, can we have a devotional? Can we just have some time with just the older ones and be able to just have some time together? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And then I was like, okay, well, let's do something with the younger kids too, and just do 2 small groups during the week. And so I think that they need control. And so I think I'm going to, Bart, I think I'm going to implement that more into my thinking, is leaving room not only for the spirit to work, but to give our kids back their control, so they have some sense of normalcy a little bit.
Well, and the buckets of grace that we've all experienced in this, there's no better time for them to lead and own, because of how much grace they're going to experience right now in these sessions, or whatever this looks like. So the grace is like 7-fold right now. And so for something, I mean, that was some of the testimony early on in the call, right? It was just how much grace we're experiencing right now. And so it's never been a better time for them to try their hand at leading or speaking or singing or designing, because of all the grace.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's like one place that things have been really successful for, even before pandemic life, like is like giving my kids space to lead. Like they lead Bible study every Wednesday night. I never, ever lead Bible study. And I am there to help guide conversation, lead conversation when they are lost. But like even my sixth graders come and lead Bible study for our middle schoolers. And they, like, I led the first 2 Wednesday nights when we came back on Zoom like this. But they've like taken it over already. So I'm just host, and then I mute who I want to mute, and all of that. But it's just been really good. So I encourage that.
How does that work, having them lead? Like, how do you do that? I love that idea, but like, how do you facilitate that?
Well, I mean, they get to just come up with whatever it is on their heart that they want to be talking about. That's how I have done it. Like, there's no curriculum that we follow. They pick a subject, or they pick a particular scripture or whatever, and tie in, right? And then they bring that. Like, mostly I like, a lot of times I have like text conversations with them ahead of time to like help guide them in the direction if they need any help. But also their parents have been really helpful in that. So it's been good on a lot of fronts, like for a while. So yeah.
Well, I appreciate all of that, so thank you.
So I know we spent a lot of time last week talking about summer. I was just curious if anything else had unfolded in the last week for you guys regarding summer. I know that ASP sent out an email today saying they've canceled their entire summer of camps, which was super big bummer in my world. We had the biggest registration for a mission trip since I've been at Prosper for that trip, and like actually had adults already lined up in January. Like, it was fantastic. It was like miracle. So it was a big bummer in our world to get that email, though we kind of all knew it was coming. Just curious, any other developments and how you guys are moving forward with summer stuff.
We were doing a mission trip with YouthWorks, and I too got an email today that they're canceling all their June trips, and of course ours falls into June. So it's like this hurry up and wait game of, I'd love to offer something local, and so far I've gotten mostly answering machines from local nonprofits who are just out in their parking lots handing out food and clothing. So it's been super challenging to try to make realistic plans, but and again, is safety locally going to be any different in June? It's just so challenging. So mission trip is canceled, but looking for local opportunities and hopeful for partnerships.
So SSP put out an email saying that they aren't going to make any decisions until May. But I just got an email from Rod Bishop. He's doing all of our flights and vans and everything like that. And my final deposit for that is due April 27th. So I'm going to have to make a decision before SSP makes a decision, which is really frustrating because I just don't know what their plan is. And my senior pastor was like, just talk to him. I'm like, I already have nothing there. Like, don't have anything. But I'm still very much, I mean, just from our conversation last week and what Bart shared, like, that was just really like, yep, we've got to cancel it. So it's going to be sooner rather than later, but I've just got to figure out what the heck I'm going to do with losing that money, or a big chunk of that money, that deposit that we have already given SSP. And then I was talking with some other folks, and knowing that, we're going to have to do small groups anyways, but this might be something that we can all do together, of just figuring out how we can help, kind of partnering up, but kind of not partnering up, since we're going to have to keep our group small, but seeing how we can really help all the nonprofits in our area. And so I was kind of thinking of, how are we going to make that work? Maybe it's going to be, like kind of a youth week thing. And Paul does this really cool thing with junior high mission experience at Rockwall, of just doing different ones every single day, and then having a fun event at the end of the day. And so I've really been looking at that kind of model of just being able to expose them to all different sorts of local missions and everything like that. but I'm still just like in the really frustrated, mad stage of having to cancel and having to lose some money and just yeah, so that's kind of where I'm at. So I'm not even really in the headspace yet to start planning. And Dorian, it sounds like even being in that headspace, you're not really getting anywhere. So I think I'm going to stay in this headspace for a little bit just to let it happen and let it be and let it go. But yeah, so that's kind of where we're at with all of that mess.
Yeah. Our trips, I was just Joel, our trip got canceled. And I was even thinking before they canceled, I was already kind of thinking about canceling anyway. My main concern now for any kind of summer trips or any kind of retreats or trips is the cost to parents. Because I'm sure you're having a lot of parents who are either losing income or lost their job or their paychecks are getting cut. And the idea of asking, hey, we still got this mission trip, but you owe $300, or hey, we want to do this retreat that costs $150. So we're rethinking our spring retreat that we were going to do. We're going to not do it at a camp. We're going to just do it if we can meet. Even if we can meet, we're going to just do it at the church and do it free. So we're going to try to make our summer not cost any money to the parents, because I'm sure we'll have several parents that are going to be affected financially. So having them have to pay us anything, I think is going to be an issue for this summer and possibly into the fall as you start thinking of your fall and your spring calendar. Because even though we live in a pretty affluent city, I'm pretty sure a lot of our professionals and that are going to be getting either pay cuts or losing their jobs. And so I would just be thinking about that when planning your summer, your fall and spring of what you're wanting to charge your parents and what you want your kids to pay, because they're going to be making decisions of what's worthy to pay. So just something to think about, I guess. But yeah, so I don't know how we're going to plan mission trips because we still want to do something, but we'll figure it out.
And just kind of a quick note on that, sorry. Just kind of looking at fall, because that was another option of thinking, oh, can we just push it back to July? Like, I'm so worried that the kids are going to get so bombarded, and we are too, with everything getting pushed to July, August. And they're going to be like, there's going to be so much packed into that. And if they're going back to school, like, so I'm just so worried about scheduling things for later on in hopes that it could happen, because we just don't know what else. And so that's a lot of my frustration, is just not knowing. But just that worry of like, yeah, like everything is August, right? So everything is going to be in August. And so, I mean, again, it gets back to how much are we wanting to put on them and the money thing. And so that's another worry that I have.
Well, go ahead.
I will say the local, I've done like a 3-day, almost like they're saying youth week kind of model, do the work, do something fun, go home to your own bed. It is pretty cheap because all you're paying for is vans, and if you do any kind of construction labor, that, and then if you feed them a sack lunch, but they can even bring their own sack lunch. I've done it, very cheap. And I'm sure even there might be spaces in our churches where mission committees have maybe funds to help even filter into that. Depends on, I know that's all, who knows where those are going in any of this time. But I know if you need help finding places, especially east side or kind of into Dallas, I can help with a lot of the different spaces we've used before. It might be a space where, though, I'd be up for if folks are looking at doing some kind of experience like that could span across our churches. I think it'd be real fun to try to figure that out.
Yeah, so I was looking at some mission stuff this summer, and kind of in the same boat as everyone else. And luckily our church has been, the city has gotten a hold of us and really gets us and asks us to do a lot of like code enforcement things, usually like small projects like repairing a fence or painting a house or cleaning up a yard or doing something like that. So one option we had was to get together, kind of like what Paul does, do a 2 or 3 day thing in June, where we get together, go do projects, come back to church, hang out, whatever else. I'm also a part of like the Army like board, and we're looking at what to do for the summertime, and we're planning on doing kind of like conference-wide, maybe districts all getting together and doing like a district day or district something else, where kind of the same model where you get a couple churches that want to get together. We provide curriculum, we provide stuff for the churches to use, and then go out and do mission projects within the districts of the North Texas Conference. So we have a meeting tonight to talk about it, and as soon as I know more information, I can send it out to the group. If anyone is looking for something, it'll be cheap and easy, and UM Army is planning on using all of its networking contacts to get a bunch of stuff done in the North Texas area. So.
Our church has a like an early response team or an emergency response team as well, and so we've talked about meeting up with them or in their resources. So I know some of y'all's churches kind of have the same thing, so that might be another group, especially for like construction type projects, that might know of some projects that need to be done locally, that we're probably going to be talking to.
I'm in a really unique situation this year because for the first time in a long time, I'm not in charge. My senior pastor is, and we're also working with a couple of other churches because we were going to do like a joint mission trip / civil rights tour, and try to knock two birds out with one stone and do like a combination thing where we did a civil rights tour and then we worked along the way and served the people of God. And so I did mention in staff this morning that I really don't want to do that. I think that even if this blows over come July, the mid of July when we're supposed to go, I don't think I want to put my kids on a bus, and I don't think that I want to travel with them through this area all the way to Atlanta and then back. We're not quite ready to make our final decision, and we're going to give it till probably the first part of May. But we're kind of having the same thing too, like, because we're getting a charter bus with Rod, and so at some point we have to pay him too. So we're definitely in a weird situation. If I was in charge, I would have already probably changed it to something local and doing, because my idea too was to do like what Paul does with the junior high, and to do something local and to do something fun every night and to keep the costs down. But it is nice to hear that I'm not the only one that's thinking that.
I think something to keep in mind, what Bart said last week has been on my mind, at least, about us not being the group that brings illness into a community. And so that's something that's been on my mind when thinking about mission trip. And even if we can go, like, what are we doing not only to keep our kids safe, but the communities that we're serving safe, because we don't want to get anyone sick. We don't want to bring illness or hardship into communities. And so that's kind of been the motivating factor behind a lot of things that we're going to be talking about, is just how are we, what is our responsibility to the community and how are we keeping them safe? And if that means, not going this year, it means not going this year. And that's kind of how it is.
Yeah, so to speak to some of this, I think part of the challenge is, right, a lot of us are guessing, right? Just like everybody else, health professionals, we're just guessing. We don't know how long it's going to last. We don't know, what the summer looks like or what the future looks like. And so I've mentioned this before, especially in regards to summer trip stuff. I have backup plans to my backup plans to my backup plans. And one of the ideas that I have been playing around with, at least this last week, especially after Bart brought his words to us, which I really appreciated, is, okay, so what if I can't do anything? Right? What if I don't get to go anywhere? What if I don't get to do anything? What if I can't even pull the kids to the church because it's still not safe for the kids to be together? What if parents still aren't working? Right? What if they're all still home? And then my thought with that then was, okay, well then I'll do a family mission trip, right? Where you stay at your own house, right? You don't go anywhere, you don't sleep anywhere, but you might do a little morning devotional via a Zoom call like this or a Facebook Live or whatever. Kids would then have, a lunch devotional you could send to parents because they can pull their phones out. You could have parents and families take different turns leading different things. And then you basically work with your community in your church and you try to get, you know, some lady's house that you can go and a family can be assigned and you can say, hey, you're going to go mow that lawn today, right? Or like, hey, you're going to go fix this fence today. And you're not going to have any contact with the homeowners, right? You'll just talk to them through their windows or whatever. And, you know, you're not going to meet other families that are going to be close because you're going to have your social distancing, but it allows you to go and serve. You give people some kind of experience where they can bond together as a family and have some unified purpose of, okay, we're doing something. We're not just sitting at home, we're doing something. And then you allow them to have some kind of maybe ultimate worship online experience at some point of the week where they can all get together online. And then I thought, well, it would be really cool if not only like Grace Avenue was doing that, but if we could join together with all the North Texas youth directors, and we reached that point and all of a sudden maybe we have a unified like t-shirt or something, right? I don't know how we get that done. That puts maybe some stuff on Emma and Joseph. I don't know. And we try to do something where we invest in something where, you know, shirt comes to your house just like it would for any other mission trip. And we go out as a conference and we don't have to pick a week to all go together, right? I think that's challenging enough as it is. But if a week that works for your church, your group, and then sometime over the summer, we're all doing something together. So that's like my backup plan to my backup plan to my backup plan is to have some kind of family ministry mission trip. And part of my goal always has been when I've been doing the online stuff is I don't want to start anything that can't continue. And this is something that even if, you know, we don't have a coronavirus next year, we don't have something that's keeping us from going somewhere, you could still have a family oriented mission trip where people could invest in and then do something together as a family. And then we also set our churches up to be the church in the community, because now people can call and say, hey, I need my yard mowed, or hey, I have a fence that's knocked down, or hey, I'm getting hit by code enforcement. And your church is then able to respond not only just in the summer, but year round. And that's where I'm at in my life. So I just offer that up to you.
It's gold, Jerry. It's gold. We've hit that magic hour mark. Unless there's anything else that anybody wants to jump in on, I want to be respectful of your guys' time and not zoom you out any more than I already have. So
I just want to, can I throw something out real quick?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So obviously we're not doing one at the end of April because we'll never leave the current rooms that we are sitting in right now. This is it. So what we were trying, I've been trying to think along with Joseph and Kelly of ways that we can show sort of the solidarity of our youth, that our youth are still meeting, that our youth are still growing and leading, and without adding another thing to what y'all are already doing and trying to get kids to show up to, and that sort of thing. And so kind of where we landed is, and I'll send an email out, but this is talking to you is easier. So where we landed is if y'all could, I'll send out, I don't know if I'll do probably like a Dropbox link, but I'm looking for screenshots of Zoom meetings that you're having. So like, it doesn't have to be one per church. If you have like middle school, high school meet, whatever sort of game nights, that kind of things. I'm looking for a bunch of screenshots of y'all's youth gatherings on Zoom or Google Hangout or however you're doing that online. And we'll put together a big sort of collage of our youth that are still showing up in this time in between, hopefully, what our real lives will look like. So if y'all could sort of start looking for that, that would be great. And I think that would show our conference that that its youth ministry is still valuable and it still has a place, especially when we're looking at what the future of the church is after all of this. So I would really appreciate that. And I hope that that can give a visual of the strength of our ministries here. Thanks, Joel.
Cool deal. Well, appreciate you guys being in here again. Plan on doing it again next week, Tuesday at 2. Chris, who's going to lead our devotion next week?
I nominate Boston.
Cool deal. All right. Well,
All right.
look forward to seeing you guys next week. And be safe. Stay well. Stay sane. Take a nap.
Bye, y'all. Be well.
Can we take like a 5, maybe not even 5 minutes? I need to pee so bad. So can we just break real quick? Oh, please.
Pee breaks are allowed. Jordan, poop breaks, not so much.
What?
If you could learn to poop as fast
We
as
don't-
I do, maybe.
We don't have that kind of time.
It's hurtful. It's
Have
hurtful
to
when you say
be
things like
places. Hurtful, says the man calling my mom orange.
Come on, man. You know it's fun.
You see my shirt?
H-Town video. Oh, my God.
Be glad you weren't on the other Zoom call today. It was so boring.
Which was that one?
It was one that, like, the Center for Leadership and Development, which is Kelly, Joseph, and Emma. But it was a therapist guy. I actually did a premarital conference with him, and he was way more engaging and interesting at that than he was on this call. But it was basically crisis counseling, essentially, stuff. And I was like, well, this will be helpful. It wasn't. It was like, oh, yeah, I know all of that already. So cool.
Well, luckily, we had staff meetings all morning, so I missed it.
Yeah.
So basically, go ahead.
No, I say he's supposed to do another one for Perkins School Youth Ministry. He's put one on. I'm like, I hope somebody tells him to maybe direct it a little more than, like, I don't need the stages of grief. I know those, like, let's move past that.
You're giving me things that I can Google, man.
Yeah. Give me ideas. That's what we all need right now. We don't need theory. We need friggin' ideas. It's lovely.
Oh, I gotta move it. Tiger King, you messed up.
I used that one when I use my iPad, but it's easier to manage letting everybody into the chat or into the Zoom room from my PC. So, I assume you've watched the Tiger King then.
Yeah, my wife made us get into it, and then it was hard not to watch it.
I watched the last 2 episodes with Lauren, and she caught me up. So I feel like that was good because I didn't have to sit through the whole thing, but I now know enough to understand the memes.
Are we just talking about Tiger King?
Yes.
Yeah, this is a Zoom call to just talk about Tiger King.
Okay.
I'm down. That'd be a great Zoom meeting. I'm gonna go send that invite out to the conference Facebook page.
You'd probably get a lot of people to join.
I know, you probably get twice the attendance, double the attendance.
You have 300 people joining the Zoom meeting. Yeah, so basically the 2 options that I said in the meeting, if UM doesn't pull something together, then I got the curriculum and everything to like last week. So we have it all ready. And I read through everything and it's totally usable. And so we could do something together. We could partner together and do something, I know we have a lot of contacts and things in Coppell, so we could do it pretty easily, but that's kind of a bit of a drive. So maybe we could find something a little closer and do like a 2 or 3 day thing, depending on what restrictions are. And then, if UM does decide at the board meeting tonight what we're going to do as far as like partnering with and providing information networking for other churches, then that might be a good possibility as well. So like they would help out with pre-sighting and materials and curriculum and worship and whatever else, and we would just ask for a very nominal fee. UMRME just asked for a very nominal fee, and most churches that have already put their deposits in would just pretty much their deposits cover it. And that way we could still do something UMRME wise this summer. But also, if, you know, what Christopher said, and that if we can't do anything, I think trying to get families to go out and do mission projects is awesome, you know, but it's also like, you know, the people's houses that we're going to work on, they're not going to be the young folks, they're going to be the old folks. And so you worry about getting them sick and whatever else. So
yeah, it would have to be exclusively outdoor projects.
Yeah, it would be like yard work or, you know, stuff that you could still keep your distance between you and your client.
Which honestly, and to Chris's point, like, I think that, man, I think that's pretty powerful stuff for our families to be doing regardless. So I thought it was a good idea. So,
you know, maybe it could be a both and type deal, right? Like you do
because
one thing just for the kids, just to help them get out of the house and do stuff locally. And then you also partner with, you know, your church and do stuff, you know, with families. Like that'd be great.
Yeah, because I think, like, realistically, like, if we were going to do something with just our churches and do something locally, which I'm absolutely down for, I mean, what realistically we're looking like maybe August we can maybe start pulling it. Like even if July would work, like if my July stays normal, I'm already really busy. You know, like I'm supposed to go to Arizona for a family vacation. I've got summer camp. You guys have Pike, right? So
far, yeah, they sent a thing out last week that they're same old. They're planning on doing everything as usual. So
yeah. So I mean,
we'll
like,
see how that actually pans out.
Realistically, something like that looks. I mean, probably. I don't know. Would probably be in August, and who knows what the beginning of school is going to look like. I'm all for it, but it's just gonna be really hard to try to even lock down some kind of plan.
I mean, it depends on. Go ahead.
The other concern I have with that, to be a little bit of a Debbie Downer, like, I just have this feeling that we are not going to be able to get parents to want to do that. Like, I just don't have a lot of faith right now in their response to anything. So I think trying to get them to go out as a family to go do something, for some it's not going to be a problem for sure, but for others I just don't see that happening. And then also like some of those